We all knew Donald Trump's birthday parade was a total disaster, and it cost the American taxpayers millions of dollars. However, now something even more disturbing has surfaced. This parade has also cost some people their lives. Now, before we jump into this parade bombshell, let's first take a look as to why Donald Trump is so universally disliked. First of all, you have Trump's aggressive ICE deportation tactics. It's now been revealed that the ICE holding cells are absolutely abysmal.
I am here after spending 2 hours with 5 members of Congress who were able to finally get into Adelanto after being turned away. We were turned away last week when they just locked this gate on us. But we were able to go in there this time, and we were able to talk to detainees from the LA raids, and we were able to discern that these were just workers in stores. These were people who had gone to their court hearings. These were people whose documents had expired. These were not criminals, not the criminals that Trump says that he's trying to get out of this country. And in fact, they are undergoing conditions that are inhumane, in my opinion. They were not able to change their underwear for 10 days. No, they had the same towel. They had to clean their own shower, and they did not get a PIN number for the telephone.
This is honestly quite shocking, but it's not that surprising because Donald Trump and his entire administration is corrupt.
This notion of system of checks and balances. And, we've seen just the total corruption of Speaker Johnson, who's completely capitulated and rolled over. There's no checks and balances left in Congress. They're a lapdog of the Trump administration. That means there's one left, and that's the courts. And we're about to go into court quite literally in a few minutes.
Now, with all this nonsense, Donald Trump desperately wanted to distract himself. And what better way to distract himself than a military parade for your birthday? Donald Trump's military parade was an undeniable failure, but apparently the small crowds may have been due to pathetic party planning. According to a journalist, much of the crowd was in the wrong place. The marketing material said the entrance was on 14, but in reality it was on 12th Street. The attendee also said, quote, "Lots of disappointed children who waited hours in long lines in the sun only to be herded out through piles of trash and didn't even see the parade." So clearly, Trump's desperate attempt at stroking his ego backfired spectacularly. But now it's hit an all-time low. That's right, an innocent person lost their life all because of Donald Trump's insane attempt at stroking his ego. Take a look.
Donald Trump's ego-stroking military parade just left tragedy in its wake. What was meant to be a grand show of power for the Army's 250th birthday has now cost an innocent woman her life. On the night of June 16th, just 2 days after President Trump presided over a massive spectacle featuring tanks and troops marching through the streets of D.C., a truck hauling one of those very tanks struck and killed a pedestrian on New York Avenue. According to internal Army documents obtained by USA Today, the tank, an M1 Abrams, was being transported back to a rail yard in Jessup, Maryland, when disaster struck. The truck was part of a military convoy leaving the West Potomac Park staging area. At approximately 9:30 p.m., D.C. police responded to a horrifying scene. A woman, alone, was found unconscious with life-threatening injuries. Emergency crews attempted life-saving measures, but it was too late. She was pronounced dead at the scene. Authorities say there was no indication of criminal intent or negligence on the part of the driver, who was a civilian contractor. No military personnel were involved in the accident, and the Army has deflected all questions to Washington police. This tragedy comes on the heels of Trump's over-the-top parade, which featured 120 military vehicles and 6,000 uniformed soldiers dressed in historic garb, all in service of a spectacle, one that critics say was more about glorifying Trump than honoring the military. And now, one woman is dead. A life lost in the aftermath of a pageant meant to polish the president's image. Police are still investigating, but one fact is inescapable. This death wouldn't have happened if those tanks weren't on the streets to begin with.
All in all, this is an absolute travesty. Not only was Donald Trump's parade a total joke, but it ended up costing an innocent woman her life. Trump, at this point, your entire administration is nothing more than a meme.